Run and Read, a story of hope in Kabul. Hello, dear friends. The sun has not yet risen. Most of Kabul is still asleep. The streets are quiet, wrapped in the silence of dawn. But on the slopes of Unity Hill in western Kabul, that silence is gently broken by the sound of footsteps and steady breathing. A group of children are running uphill alongside a young man carrying a book. From a distance, it may look like nothing more than a simple morning exercise. Yet behind these footsteps lies a remarkable story about hope, education, and building a better future. To understand this story, we first need to know the place where it began. Our story takes us to Dasht-e Barchi in western Kabul, a neighborhood largely inhabited by the Hazara community. Over the past 2 decades, it became one of Afghanistan's most important centers of education and culture. For many Afghans, Dasht-e Barchi became known as the Plain of Knowledge. Hundreds of schools, educational centers, libraries, and cultural institutions flourished there. Every morning, thousands of children eagerly walked to their classrooms, while parents placed their hopes for a brighter future in education and learning. But those brighter days did not last forever. Following Afghanistan's political upheaval and the collapse of the republic, the face of the neighborhood changed dramatically. Many teachers, writers, researchers, and cultural figures were forced to leave the country. Girls' schools were closed, and thousands of children were deprived of their fundamental right to education. Gradually, the lively sounds of schools faded, replaced by uncertainty, anxiety, and despair. Yet even in the darkest times, there are always people who refuse to let the light of hope go out. One of them is Hossein Binesh, a sociologist, university lecturer, researcher, and cultural activist who completed his master's degree in sociology. Like many of his generation, he had the opportunity to leave Afghanistan. Instead, despite growing threats and hardships, he chose to stay. For him, the true meaning of life was found in teaching and in inspiring hope, knowledge, and perseverance in a new generation. He believed that if Afghanistan was ever to build a better future, that future had to begin with its children, with a generation still capable of dreaming, learning, and imagining a different tomorrow. Driven by this belief, he founded the Tardid Educational Center. Its mission was never limited to formal education. Its purpose was to nurture curiosity, critical thinking, and above all, a love of reading among children. The center established a children's library, organized read-aloud storytelling sessions, trained children's literature facilitators, and launched reading campaigns throughout Dasht-e Barchi. Slowly, books became close companions to many children. Some read every book available in the library and eagerly waited for new titles to arrive. But this success led Hossein Binesh to ask a new question. Should books remain inside libraries? Could reading become part of children's everyday lives, in the streets, parks, hills, and public spaces where they play? The answer to those questions became a movement now known as Run and Read. At 3:40 in the morning on the 19th of June 9th, 2026 in the Afghan calendar, while most of Kabul was still asleep, Hossein Binesh left home carrying a children's book. He ran from Pul-e-Kushk to Tepe-e-Wadat. After reaching the top, he opened the book and began reading aloud. Perhaps no one imagined that this simple act would grow into a movement that would inspire so many children. During the first few days, he ran alone. Soon, however, several children became curious enough to join him. They ran beside him, listened to the stories, and eventually began reading themselves. Day after day, more children and teenagers joined, and Run and Read gradually evolved from one person's initiative into an inspiring community movement. Today, before sunrise each morning, groups of children gather to run together. After finishing the run, they sit together, read stories, discuss the characters and ideas, share what they have learned, and encourage others to become part of the program. Perhaps this is the movement's greatest achievement. Children who once listened quietly have themselves become ambassadors for reading. The idea behind Run and Read is beautifully simple.
چرا می‌دویم؟ می‌دویم از خاطر کتاب. چرا می‌دویم؟ می‌دویم از خاطر افغانستان. آینده افغانستان جدید مثل خورشید افغانستان جدید طلوع بکنه و رهبرایش این کودک‌ها باشه.
Running strengthens the body. Reading strengthens the mind. When both grow together, children become healthier, wiser, more creative, and more hopeful. Yet this movement is about far more than running a few kilometers or reading a few books. Its real purpose is to raise a generation that loves books, values conversation, preserves its imagination, and is prepared to build a better future. The vision extends far beyond a 100-day challenge.
برای ایجاد بزرگترین کتابخانه کودک محور و دسترسی کودکان به چنین کتاب‌هایی و جلسه امروز خود را کتابخانه امروز خود را تقدیم می‌کنیم به مادرای مهربان و کودکایی که همراه مادرای خود خیلی مهربانند.
Hossein Binesh dreams of a day when reading becomes part of every Afghan child's daily life, when children's literature receives the attention it deserves, and when no child is deprived of books simply because they cannot afford them. He also hopes, with the support of book lovers, educators, and generous donors, to establish a large, modern children's library in Kabul, a place where imagination, learning, and hope can flourish.
کتابخانه کودک محور در کابل و سایر ولایات افغانستان تأسیس بکنیم. ما برای افغانستانی متفاوت، برای افغانستان زیبا قدم‌های کوچیک اما در راستای اهداف بزرگ که همان افغانستانی متفاوت، افغانستانی که کودکانشان و بزرگانشان همه کتاب می‌خوانند، می‌اندیشند و روز خود را در کنار دیگر جایها در کتابخانه‌ها سپری می‌کنند. می‌دویم، می‌خوانیم و پای این حرف هم می‌ایستیم.
One writer described the movement in these words: "In a world where war and violence seem to fall from every wall and every doorway, there are still people who choose books instead of weapons, who run and tell children about dreams of peace, friendship, and a brighter future." Perhaps no words describe Run and Read better than these, because this is not simply a sports program or a reading initiative. It is the story of people who believe that even in the hardest times, the light of knowledge can remain alive, and that tomorrow can begin to be built today. Every morning, before the sun rises over Kabul, children begin a journey whose destination is far more than Unity Hill. Their destination is a world where books, friendship, conversation, and hope become part of every child's life. From the top of Unity Hill, Kabul looks different. Books do the same for us. They teach us to see the world from a new perspective, to believe in our own potential, and to remember that even in the darkest days, there is always a path toward a better tomorrow. The movement's motto is short yet profound. A person is what they read. And perhaps we can add one more sentence. Tomorrow's Afghanistan will become what today's children choose to read. Real change does not always begin with grand decisions. Sometimes it begins with a single book, with a few footsteps at dawn, with a story shared among children, with the smile of a child who has learned to believe in the future once again. Run and Read is the story of that belief, a belief that the future is not something we simply wait for. It is something we build, step by step, page by page. And that journey begins today with these children.
پیغام زندگی بود در هر ورق که بگشود بشکفت و برگ این گل میخوانمش چو بلبل حرفی ز آشنایی حرفی ز روشنایی حرفی ز کار و همت صد قصه از محبت